Good afternoon. It's Monday, November 23. I'm Giovanni Dennis with the Midday News. Special welcome if you're watching online at onespotmedia.com. Another call this afternoon for the government to establish an effective crime-fighting plan. The call comes from Councillor for the Lauriston Division, Keisha Lewis, following Sunday's fatal shooting of 3 people, including 2 children, in Trial Heights, Spanish Town, St. Catherine. Shane Masters has the details.
A community in mourning after an 82-year-old woman and her 2 grandchildren were gunned down Sunday afternoon in Trial Heights, Spanish Town, St. Catherine. TVJ News understands that the children were 10 and 6 years old. The grief-stricken residents recall how the incident unfolded.
We just hear gunshot. That's all we hear when we see, we hear one vehicle speed out of the place and bus shut down the road. And then when the road come over here, we see the first little baby right there. So you see her run, she did a run. And them drop her neck. And over here, so she gets shot in her back. Like a 2 shot, them give a baby.
The residents claim the area is peaceful and this latest incident is not one that any could ever imagine. They say the children did not deserve such a brutal death.
Them tell me yard every day, I pick me here when I'm cool. Let me show you. I just comb my hair since week. Since week, I comb my hair. Since week, I comb my hair. You see? That's how close me and them be. They come over me yard, them eat, them sleep, anything. Them and my nephew are closest friend.
Now, Councillor of the Lauriston Division, Keisha Lewis, is echoing the call for a more effective crime-fighting plan.
Crime plan needs to be thought out. We need a crime plan. We cannot, as she said, brush this aside. It cannot be a 9-day wonder. We cannot allow this peaceful community of Trial Heights to be brought down like other communities. And we will stand together as a community, as the leadership of the communities, to ensure that we stop this from going on. But we have to get the support of the police force. And definitely, the government needs to ensure that they put the requisite things in place to fight crime.
In the meantime, she says counseling will be provided for the family and the community. Shane Masters, TVJ News.
In the meantime, investigators are gathering clues into their probe into the killing of 82-year-old Iselin McFarlane and her 2 granddaughters. The girls are 6-year-old Michelle McFarlane and a 10-year-old Christina McFarlane. Deputy Commissioner in charge of crime Fitz Bailey visited the scene.
What I saw is just some gruesome act that was perpetrated by, criminals. The reality is that as a society, I think we have a responsibility to protect our female and our children and our elderly. And when one can unleash such brutal act on the elderly and children, I think it speaks to the fact that we have failed as a society.
At least one family physician is recommending that the government establish a comprehensive COVID-19 vaccination program. Dr. Jacqueline Campbell believes that the program could help reduce resistance from citizens when a COVID-19 vaccine becomes available for distribution. She was speaking on Radio Jamaica's weekly news review program, That's a Wrap, on Sunday.
Pharmaceutical giant Pfizer is set to start distribution of its vaccine in the United States soon. But there is no timeline as to when distribution will be done in Jamaica. Pfizer said its vaccine is more than 90% effective in preventing COVID-19. Despite that pronouncement, some Jamaicans have expressed reservations about taking the vaccine when it becomes available in the island. It's why family physician and lecturer in pharmacology at the University of the West Indies, Mona, Dr. Jacqueline Campbell, wants the Ministry of Health to establish a comprehensive COVID-19 vaccination program. Dr. Campbell says that the vaccination program should seek to reassure Jamaicans that getting vaccinated is not only effective, but more importantly, safe.
In terms of a vaccination plan, a decision would have to be made. Which vaccine are we going to get? When you get the vaccine into the country, who will be getting this vaccine? Are we going to give the persons over the age of, say, 65? In which communities are we going to be giving this vaccine? Suppose, for example, someone decides, I don't want to take this vaccine. What are we going to do?
She adds that the program should contain a public education component. According to Dr. Campbell, this would allay fears about vaccination and inform persons about the benefits.
In 1975, before there was widespread vaccination in the Americas I'm talking about, nearly 6,000 cases of polio, paralytic polio, were reported in the region. And in 1991, the last 6 cases were detected. 3 years later, 1994, what happened? The disease was formally declared eliminated from the region. And although it has been eliminated, what we know happened? We know that we still vaccinate our children. So it's an ongoing process.
Prince Moore, TVJ News.
In the meantime, Jamaica's COVID-19 death toll has increased to 239. A 78-year-old woman from Westmoreland is the latest to die from the respiratory illness. Meanwhile, 59 new COVID-19 cases were recorded on Sunday. The country's case count is now 10,349. Their ages range from 1 to 87 years. The Ministry of Health says the number of persons hospitalized with COVID-19 has increased to 85. 10 are critically ill. And that should be 10,343. It's now time for a break here on the Midday News. Please stay with us. We'll have more stories when we return. Welcome back, and we're continuing the news. A senior official in the Ministry of Tourism is not expecting a major fallout in the local tourism market despite an advisory from the U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, CDC, which increased the island's COVID-19 risk level from 3 to 4. Level 4 is the highest on the risk assessment scale and means that travelers to Jamaica have a very high possibility of contracting COVID-19. The CDC is urging Americans where possible to avoid traveling to Jamaica. Senior advisor to the Tourism Minister, Delana Seabright, says the CDC advisory will have minimal impact on the travel plans of Americans.
Many Americans, many persons who are contemplating travel from the United States make their decisions outside of what the CDC and other agencies would say. Everybody in the world is aware that there is a COVID pandemic and that every single country in the world is affected, and that we must all take the necessary steps as it relates to health and safety to ensure our own safety when we travel, whether in country or externally. And I think because of that, these advisories don't have the same impact that they would probably have if the circumstances were different.
Mr. Seabright says the Tourism Ministry is still expecting an increase in arrivals during the winter tourist season.
We are very confident that despite the advisory, which has impacted almost every country in the world negatively, that we will be fine and that there will continue to be an uptick in the number of visitors to the island, certainly from the United States.
The tourism sector may soon feel the negative impacts of the fallout in the agriculture sector for the winter tourist season. It comes following the recent heavy rains, which caused severe damage to crops. The preliminary estimate of the losses to the sector stood at $1.82 billion. Agricultural Minister Floyd Green says teams from the Rural Agricultural Development Authority have been unable to present the true extent of the loss and damage due to some areas still being inaccessible. 11,827 farmers were affected by torrential rains. It's a challenge that tourism will also have to contend with, as 10% of the food consumed by the sector is locally produced.
If there is weather issues and that will affect crop production and harvesting, what it is going to mean is that the industry too will see some challenge in terms of local supplies. And then, we will have to be forced to import. Now, the impact of that on the foreign exchange situation is another issue. So we have to make sure that we carefully assess what the impact is going to be and to get better details and information so that the industry can better plan and prepare for the winter season.
In the meantime, the government is considering the importation of vegetables to ease the shortfall. Agriculture Minister Floyd Green also announced an emergency support program for farmers valued at over $600 million. Executive Director of the National Solid Waste Management Authority, Audley Gordon, is assuring Jamaicans that adequate preparations are being made to ensure they have a clean Christmas. This comes as 80 drums were donated to residents in Greenvale, Manchester recently. More in this report.
Proper garbage disposal might be a challenge for some, but that process is now made easier and more efficient for residents of Greenvale in Manchester. It follows the distribution of some 80 drums under the Drum at the Gate initiative.
We know what we have to do, and we have already, it's not like we're doing this fresh. We have a history. We know exactly where the pressure points are, and we will be all right for Christmas. Jamaica will have a clean Christmas.
Executive Director of the National Solid Waste Management Authority, Audley Gordon, added that in areas such as the market districts, garbage collection would have to continue late into the night. Mr. Gordon said the Drum at the Gate initiative would enhance the community's aesthetics and appealed to residents to use the drums to store their garbage. He argues that when garbage is thrown everywhere, it creates a ripple effect as others simply follow, thereby making it difficult for workers.
The stress that it put on our crew when they have to come and clean up instead of just taking up a drum, emptying it and moving. We want to move from your gate as quickly as possible.
With the negative effects of recent heavy rainfall now being felt, Mr. Gordon also told the residents that items such as plastic bottles that were not disposed of properly would now block drains, thereby contributing to flooding.
Don't throw things around because it could be the source of a blocked waterway, a blocked drainage system, and flooding in your community.
Regional Operations Manager for Southern Parks and Markets, Edward Muir, told the residents that by using the drums, they would help to ensure the safety of the workers. Mr. Muir underscored the importance of work crews being able to move at a quicker pace.
We want to ensure that our schedule, they are completed on a timely basis. So the time it takes us to pull the garbage together and to pack it up, put it in the truck, we are losing time.
Some residents who benefited from the initiative told TVJ News that they appreciate the gesture.
So when you come now, you can find the drum more easier. So if we are not here, because most time we go to work, like now I'm going. So you can just come and we can just leave it right at the gate and you just collect.
The garbage bins are very important because we used to use plastic bags or burn. When we have overcrowding of garbage, we used to burn and everything. When the bins are more appropriate now, the dogs can scratch the bins, so the garbage is in more safer hands.
The initiative is part of the Drum at the Gate program being spearheaded by the National Solid Waste Management Authority. The Drum at the Gate initiative is expected to continue across other parishes. Herman Green, TVJ News.
Further afield, the UK's medicine regulator, Medicines and Healthcare Products Regulatory Agency, said it will make a decision on the Pfizer and BioNTech COVID-19 vaccine in, quote, the shortest possible time. They said they have already started their analysis of the data received, and the advice from the Commission on Human Medicines will also be taken into consideration before advising the UK government on the safety, quality and effectiveness of any potential vaccine. Still overseas, new details about the timeline and the distribution of a promising COVID-19 vaccine. The head of the White House vaccine effort says vaccinations could start in just a few weeks and 20 million people could get vaccinated before the year ends. More from the CNN.
A COVID-19 vaccine on the horizon. The White House vaccine chief revealing the first Americans could be vaccinated in just a few weeks, as early as December 11th. Dr. Monsef Slaoui, the head of Operation Warp Speed, says the FDA Vaccine Advisory Committee is scheduled to meet December 10th. If the committee issues an emergency use authorization for Pfizer's COVID-19 vaccine, it could be rolled out the next day.
and we do apologize for the audio issues in that story. In sports, as the West Indies prepare to tour Bangladesh early next year, a two-member Cricket West Indies inspection team will head to the Asian country on November 28 to assess their cricket board's COVID-19 management and security arrangements. Renardo Brown has the details.
Sports website Cricket Buzz published a story on Sunday reporting that Dr. Akshay Mansingh, a member of the ICC and CWI medical panel, as well as a CWI director, and Paul Slow, a security and safety manager, are expected to arrive in Bangladesh on November 28. When TVJ Sports contacted Dr. Mansingh on Sunday, he declined to comment on the matter. However, a source close to Cricket West Indies did confirm with TVJ Sports that both Mansingh and Slow are set to leave for Bangladesh later this week. The Windies are due to visit Bangladesh in January for a tour comprising 3 tests, 3 one-day internationals and 2 2020 internationals during their stay. The series will mark the 3rd tour for the Caribbean men since the global pandemic. However, it is the first time the regional body will be conducting an inspection before travel. TVJ Sports sources reveal that the reason behind the decision is that as at November 22, Bangladesh had recorded over 47,000 COVID-19 cases and close to 6,400 deaths. TVJ Sports also understands that the Bangladesh tour will take place in tight quarantine bubbles similar to that used for the Caribbean Premier League, which was held entirely in Trinidad and Tobago. One of the challenges for the tour is that the hotel, training facility, and match grounds are all separate, which requires the team to constantly travel between venues. Unlike their current tour of New Zealand, where players are allowed to move freely once their quarantine period is over, members of the Windies touring party will have their movements restricted throughout their trip. In England, the Windies were housed at the stadium they played and practiced, which eliminated excessive travel between venues. The BCB had presented a comprehensive COVID-19 management plan to Cricket West Indies for approval, taking their first steps toward the resumption of international cricket in the country. However, as reported earlier this week, CWI CEO Johnny Grave noted that the plan will be taken to the board of directors following discussion with the medical team. Renardo Brown for TVJ Sports.
And that's the Midday News. I'm Giovanni Dennis. Join us at 7 for Primetime News. On behalf of the news, sports and production teams, good afternoon.